Game of the week. I'm Dave Roberts, playing center field today. Batting second for the Giants, very underrated, Randy Wynn. Batting third, playing second base, Ray Durham. Batting fourth, the designated hitter, the man, Barry Bonds. Batting fifth, our Iron Horse, Benji Molina. Batting sixth, playing right field, the rookie, Nate Shearholtz. Batting seventh, playing first base, Rich Aurelia. Batting eighth and playing third base, Pedro Feliz. And batting ninth, the shortstop for the San Francisco Giants, the legend and soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Omar Vizquel. And doing the pitching today is the young kid, the fireballer, flamethrower, Matt Cain.
Our thanks to Dave Roberts. The Giants batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Coming up, the Budweiser opening pitch. Budweiser, the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Open up a world of taste. Giants getting set for their first look at 26-year-old right-hander Daisuke Matsuzaka, who will make his 14th start of the season. Daisuke with a record of 7-5. He has lost his last 3 starts. Earned run average of 4.52. The pitcher profile on Matsuzaka brought to you by DLP HD TV. It's amazing. It's the mirrors.
It is certainly understandable that a man comes from Japan to the United States, particularly a hotbed of baseball like Boston is, and he tries to be too perfect. Well, that's been his problem the first couple of months of the season, but the Red Sox are trying to remind him that, Daisuke, you're okay. Just keep throwing the fastball more, and that was one of his problems early. He was trying to throw too many pitches, but if he sticks with the fastball and everything works off that fastball, he'll be fine.
A beautiful Saturday afternoon in Boston. 74 degrees. Partly cloudy skies as the Red Sox and Giants get set for the second of this 3-game series. Red Sox winning last night's game 10-2 as Dave Roberts returned to Fenway for the first time since the ring ceremony early in the 05 season following the Red Sox World Series championship in 2004.
That ovation last night for a man who did not have an at-bat during that playoff back in 2004, but it was the stolen base heard around at least this part of the world.
Stolen base in game 4 of the American League Championship Series against the New York Yankees, with the Yankees ahead 3-0. Red Sox becoming the first team in baseball history to come back from an 0-3 series deficit. Another standing ovation for Dave Roberts as he leads off against Daisuke Matsuzaka. Roberts 2 hits in last night's game and takes the first pitch this afternoon for ball 1.
Yeah, you can't think that the same people that are at today's game were at last night's game. Big ovation from, for the most part, different folks today.
Roberts squared to bunt and takes ball 2. He said after the initial standing ovation last night, he figured it would die down in his subsequent at-bats, but it did not.
No.
Received an ovation prior to every at-bat last night. The 2-0 Roberts called strike. Charlie Relaford, the home plate umpire, 2-1.
Pointed out by a local writer today, it was certainly a first inning of emotion last night. The ovation for Dave Roberts, the boos for Barry Bonds, the ejection of David Ortiz.
2-2 now on Roberts. In addition, the Giants' Mark Sweeney started the game last night, came to the plate in the first inning, grew up in Massachusetts, and like Barry Bonds, made his Fenway Park debut. 1-2, low and inside, and the count is full.
It's the thing about interleague play. No Giant hitter has ever faced Daisuke Matsuzaka, and only J.D. Drew has faced Matt Cain, the Giant starter. You see that a lot in interleague play. So decided advantage in interleague play for the pitcher.
Payoff pitch to the former Red Sox, and Roberts draws a leadoff walk.
That's an example of what we were talking about. Too many pitches for Daisuke. That was a slider on a 3-2 pitch. Throw the fastball and make a guy who does not have a lot of power put it in play. If he singles, so be it. Leadoff walks lead to multi-run innings.
You mentioned pitch count. Matsuzaka averages 109 pitches per start. Third most in the major leagues, but not nearly as many as he was used to throwing in his native Japan. Randy Wynn takes a called strike. Last season in Japan, Matsuzaka averaged 132 pitches per start. 2 years ago, 144.
Wow. That's mixed in with bullpen sessions between starts of around 150 pitches. That's the one thing Japanese pitchers do that American pitchers, in my view, do not do enough of, and that's throw.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Maybe to a fault. There are very few ex-pitchers who go down with arm problems when their careers are over that don't say that the one thing they wish they had done more of is throw.
Roberts takes his lead off first. He has 10 steals and 11 tries this season. There he goes. On the ground to the right side, so the Giants stay out of the double play with Roberts on the move as Wynn grounds out to the second baseman, Pedroia.
You do stay out of the double play, but you waste the speed of Dave Roberts in the process. He had an excellent jump. And yet Randy Wynn, a very hot hitter, puts it in play, and the Red Sox do get the out. Excellent jump by Roberts.
So Roberts in scoring position with 1 out, and the switch hitting Ray Durham at the plate. Durham leads the Giants with 37 runs batted in. And he drives this one to right center. Misjudging it, and then diving is crisp. And he makes the catch for out number 2.
Checking the sun right here. I think he thought J.D. Drew was going to make the play initially, and then he was too far back, had to dive, and because of that, Dave Roberts could not go to third base. His timing was all messed up at second. And the Boo Birds out once again for Barry Bonds. BB for BB.
And he draws a lot of BBs. And he will draw an intentional BB for the first inning.
IBB.
The 26th intentional walk of Bonds this season. He leads the major leagues in total walks. This will be number 66. Ball 3. As the Red Sox elect to face Benji Molina with 2 outs and runners on first and second.
One more time, that catch lost in the sun by Coco Crisp, the center fielder of the Red Sox, thinking perhaps J.D. Drew was going to cut in front of him. Coco, who has made a lot of terrific catches this year, makes another one on a play that should have been much more routine, and a lot of Red Sox fans holding their breath when that happened.
Crisp, a terrific center fielder who has not committed an error in 111 games. So the Red Sox walk Bonds, and now Benji Molina, who is batting .433 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs this year. And that is the situation right here.
Now, what happens after Barry Bonds is really the determining factor as to whether the Giants score a lot of runs or not. Can the guy after Barry Bonds hit, because Barry's not going to see but 3 to 5 pitches a game. Molina's done a good job so far.
First and second, 2 outs. Top of the first inning here in Boston as Molina fouls off the first pitch from Matsuzaka. 0-1. No surprise there. The 0-1 to Molina. Fouls it back this way, 0-2.
First time we've seen Daisuke this year, and it seems that, you know, when you're a catcher, you can speed up things. It's a little bit difficult to do with the runner on at second base because you're going through a series of signs. But rhythm and cadence between a catcher and a pitcher, very, very important.
The rookie Nate Scherholtz waiting on deck. Should Molina reach? Roberts on second. Bonds takes his lead off first. The 0-2 for Matsuzaka. 1-2.
Matsuzaka taking a step or two toward the Red Sox dugout, thinking that this pitch had the corner, but it did outside.
Roberts, Bonds. 2 on, 2 out. 1-2 to Molina. On the ground to the third baseman, Lowell. And the Giants ran 2 base runners in the top of the first.
Welcome to Fox Saturday Game at Fenway Park. My name is Jim Rice of the Boston Red Sox. Today's lineup: J.D. Drew, right field, batting first; Dustin Pedroia, batting second, playing second base; David Ortiz, the DH; Manny Ramirez, left field; Kevin Youkilis, first base; Mike Lowe, third base; Jason Varitek, the captain, catching; Alex Cora, shortstop; Coco Chris, the center fielder; Daisuke Matsuzaka, pitching today.
Jim Rice, the last Red Sox captain prior to Jason Varitek. The Red Sox batting order brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Red Sox getting ready to face 22-year-old right-hander Matt Cain, who has not received much run support from his teammates. Record of 2-6. Earned run average just over 3. And he will face the top of the Red Sox order: J.D. Drew, Dustin Pedroia, and David Ortiz here in the bottom of the first inning. Drew broke out of an 0-for-11 slump in a big way last night with 3 hits and 4 at-bats. He scored 3 runs, and he drove in 3. As Tim mentioned, he is the only member of the Red Sox starting lineup today who has previously faced Matt Cain. 1-ball, 2-strike count, and Drew, while playing in the National League, went 3 for 7 against Cain.
A lot of times you can determine whether a hitter is locked in or not on the type of outs that he makes. If J.D. Drew is hitting the ball well to the opposite field, those are the right types of out to make. Similar to that swing, because when a left-handed hitter does that, he allows the ball to get to him, to get deep to him, to where he can identify that pitch. But when you're going the other way, often that's the right approach. The shoulder's in the right position. That's something that J.D. Drew has not done this year for the Red Sox.
Another foul. Drew batting leadoff for the 3rd game in a row, as Terry Francona has shuffled his batting order. A look at David Ortiz, who was ejected in the first inning of last night's game. Full count. Dustin Pedroia waiting on deck, then Ortiz. Payoff pitch from Cain, and Drew goes down on strikes. Time now for Matt Cain's pitcher profile, brought to you by DLP HD TV. It's amazing. It's the mirrors.
22-year-old Matt Cain just blowing the ball by J.D. Drew. For a young pitcher to grasp that, to make that comment going through the plate, not to the plate. In other words, he's pitching to the catcher and not to the hitter. That is a very, very important distinction for any pitcher to make, but particularly a young man who's only 22 years old.
0-1 on Pedroia, who went 5 for 5 last night, raised his batting average 20 points. As Tim mentioned in our open, grew up a huge Giants fan in the Sacramento area. His numbers last night: drove in 5 runs, doubled, homered. Aside from Pedroia and Drew, the rest of the Red Sox went 1 for 24. Added up to a 10-2 win. The 0-2. Missing away, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Right field. Sherholtz shielding the sun, makes the catch for out number 2. So now David Ortiz steps in. Struck out looking in the first inning last night. Argued. As he was walking back towards the dugout, he threw his helmet and was ejected from the game. The 1-0 from Cain, missing away, 2-0. Manny Ramirez waiting on deck. 2 outs, bottom of the first inning. Giants threatened in the top half, but could not score as the count goes to 3-0. Giants manager Bruce Bochy led the San Diego Padres to the postseason each of the last 2 years. Ortiz holds 3-1.
Neither David Ortiz nor Manny Ramirez the type of power hitters who like to swing at 3-0 pitches. Some hitters think that they become a little too aggressive on the 3-0 count.
Strike called on the outside corner. So the count is now full. Payoff pitch from Cain. On the ground to the right side, foul. To take you back to Ortiz's at bat in the first inning last night, called out on strikes by the home plate umpire Tony Randazzo. Tossed his bat and his helmet back, and his night was over early. David's numbers in interleague play the last 3 years as he draws a 2-out walk. Cain does walk a lot of batters. In fact, he's second in the National League with 44 walks.
Yeah, that's a lot of walks for 13 starts.
So now with Ortiz on at first, Manny Ramirez steps in. Manny last night 0 for 3. He walked twice. batting over 400 over his last 20 games. One and one.
Kenny, to elaborate a little bit on that throwing through the strike zone and to the catcher, a lot of young pitchers are so intimidated by pitching in the major leagues, they have a tendency to pitch to the hitter. And when you pitch to the hitter, you have a tendency to have your the action of your pitches stop when it gets to the hitter.
In the air to right field, Scherholz makes the catch. The Red Sox are retired in the first. Ortiz stranded, no score after one. And by Taco Bell, where a little flavor goes a long way. Think outside the bun. Back at Fenway, second inning, as Nate Scherholz steps in against Daisuke Matsuzaka. Scherholz called up earlier this week, making his fourth start in the major leagues. Takes ball one from Daisuke. Scherholz grew up in the San Francisco area, a huge Giants fan. In fact, he attended the last game at Candlestick Park. One and one on Scherholz, who was batting .347 with AAA Fresno at the time of his recall. Attended the same high school as his teammate Randy Wynn. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Giants going from a ballpark that was perhaps the most difficult park in which to play in the history of the game, Candlestick Park, to a park that perhaps is one of the prettiest in the history of the game, AT&T Park, the site of the All-Star Game this year on July 10th. And what a venue.
Rich Aurelio waiting on deck. The 3-1 from Matsuzaka. Full count. And the Giants betting this weekend at a ballpark their franchise has not visited since 1915 when they played against the Boston Braves here at Fenway.
Yeah.
Payoff pitch to Scherholz. On the ground to the second baseman, Pedroia. 1 out. The home plate umpire, Charlie Rutherford, is wearing a microphone for us today. Let's listen.
I mean, I can't argue now?
Never stopped you before.
I don't know. When do I argue?
Not very much at all.
Productive
You're
opinion really
A mock argument involving Charlie Rutherford and Red Sox catcher Jason Varitek.
Having a little fun. I'll guarantee you, I am so happy that miking home plate umpires were not the case 40 years ago when I caught. I would not have liked that. Nor would have other catchers of my ilk like that.
0-1 on Aurelia. By the way, Charlie Rutherford will be the first base umpire at the All-Star Game.
All right.
In San Francisco next month. It'll be the second All-Star Game for Charlie. Working behind the plate will be Bruce Fremming, who announced that he will retire following this 2007 season.
Bruce in his 50th year in the game. And we talked about the venue and the surrounding area of San Francisco. That ballpark is just spectacular. Oakland in the distance, McCovey Cove, the splashdowns. What a spot for the All-Star Game.
On Fox, July 10th. Aurelia goes down on strikes. First strikeout today, 86th of the season for Matsuzaka. He's ranked 6th in the American League.
You can see Varitek standing up, giving the high target, and Matsuzaka hits it.
So with 2 outs, here's Pedro Feliz, the Giants' third baseman, batting .256. Facing Matsuzaka for the first time. Strike 1. Matsuzaka walked 2 Giants in the first, including Bonds intentionally. As Feliz drives this one to the wall in left center. Off the out-of-town scoreboard. A stand-up double for Pedro Feliz, his 13th two-base hit of the season.
First hit of the ball game and a tracer to left center field. And of course, anytime a ball hits the scoreboard with such resounding fury here at Fenway, it draws attention to the scores, the scoreboard, and the Yankees 10-5 ahead of the New York Mets. As our high first camera pans left. 10-5 in the 7th inning.
After the Mets shut out Roger Clemens and the Yankees last night 2-0. Strike one to Omar Vizquel, the number 9 hitter in the Giants order this afternoon. No hits for Omar in his last 17 at-bats. 40-year-old switch hitter batting from the left side against the right-hander, Matsuzaka. Big leadoff second for Feliz. Way outside, 1-1.
With all the action that takes place around shortstop, a guy like Vizquel, more than any other regular player, can help his team when he's not hitting. Ozzie Smith was like that with the San Diego Padres for what, 6 years before he went to the Cardinals, became more of an offensive force, and is in the Hall of Fame.
Vizquel rips this one foul to the right side. So the count now 1-2. Only Luis Aparicio and the aforementioned Ozzie Smith have played more games as shortstops in Major League history.
I remember Whitey Herzog when he signed Ozzie Smith to a contract of $1 million back in the middle 80s. It was a pioneering term and sum in those days. And Whitey said, what's the difference? You know, he may not drive in 100 runs, but he saves 100 runs from being scored. And that's similar to Vizquel and what he's done throughout his career.
Did you go back and ask the Cardinals to retroactively renegotiate your prior contracts?
No, that would not have happened. No.
And their offensive statistics, Vizquel and Ozzie Smith, are remarkably similar.
Remarkably similar.
Full count.
Omar with 11 Gold Gloves. The Wizard of Oz with 13 Gold Gloves. And when you look at the numbers with Ozzie Smith and Omar Vizquel, I mean, it's really no doubt about it. He's a Hall of Famer.
Payoff pitch, and Matsuzaka strikes out Vizquel to end the inning. So Feliz stranded on second. Second strikeout of the inning for Daisuke. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for a Budweiser, the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Open up a world of taste. Bottom of the second inning here at Fenway as Kevin Youkilis leads off against Matt Cain. Youkilis having a terrific season as he takes ball one, batting .329. 7th in the American League in hits with 81. 6th in on-base percentage. Had a 23-game hitting streak earlier this season as Matt Cain falls behind 2-0. Youkilis, Lowell, and Varitek for the Red Sox here in the second as Cain catches the inside corner, 2-1. Youkilis 0 for 4 in last night's game. Strike called on the outside corner, 2-2.
One thing about the Red Sox this year, they have perhaps the best pitching staff that you can make a case that they've ever had, with 5 strong starters, a great closer in Papelbon, a great setup man.
Off the fist, shallow center, and Vizquel coming out to make the catch with his back to home plate.
Folks, do you realize how hard this play is to make? Watch him glide under it. He's been doing it his whole career, and at 40 years old, he's still doing it. And that's why we talked about Omar Vizquel as a Hall of Famer. To me, it's a laydown. It's a gut lock. That is a terrific play, made look ridiculously easy.
Put that catch on Omar's Hall of Fame highlight reel.
Yeah, and a bunch more like it.
So with one away, here's Mike Lowell. On the ground to the shortstop, Vizquel. He backhands it, makes it look easy once again. For out number 2. Two of the all-time greats at the shortstop position. Ozzie Smith and Omar Vizquel, who's still going strong.
That's about the only thing Omar cannot do that Ozzie did.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Omar approaching 2,500 games played. Well, Ken Rosenthal is with us today, Tim, and Ken has a Hall of Fame vote. What do you think, Ken? Omar in?
I think the answer is yes, Kenny. The problem he's going to have is that he, unlike Ozzie, plays in an age of elite offensive shortstops. Jeter, A-Rod when he was at short, and Omar during his days at short, and now, of course, some great offensive shortstops as well. Hanley Ramirez, Jimmy Rollins, go right down the line, Jose Reyes being the latest. Omar Vizquel is more of a throwback, more of a defensive specialist, but yes, I believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Sounds like he has Ken's vote. Varitek pops it up. Calling for it is the first baseman, Aurelia. And the Red Sox go down in order in the second. We'll return after these messages from your local Fox station.
You're watching Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week.
Welcome back to Fenway Park. The seats above the Green Monster occupied, Tim, today by the winning bidders of the Red Sox Foundation ticket auction. 87 Green Monster ticket packages were auctioned to raise funds for the team's charity children's programs. An online auction raised over $250,000, the most money ever raised in a Major League Baseball online ticket auction. And some former Red Sox greats are out in the Green Monster seats, participating with the fans as Dave Roberts takes a called strike. We heard from Jim Rice, who brought us the Red Sox batting order. He's joined in the Green Monster seats today by Louis Tiant and Johnny Pesky. Roberts walked leading off the game after receiving another standing ovation. He says at least once a day, somebody from Boston thanks him at some point for stealing that base in the 2004 American League Championship Series.
And that will continue to be the case.
Including an overzealous fan in the men's room at a UCLA football game.
Can you tell the whole story?
I don't know the rest of it. 2-1 to Roberts. Now 2-2.
Certainly a story where you can play with your imagination. Oh, boy.
Roberts came off the disabled list a week ago today. Underwent left elbow surgery last month. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Randy Wynn waiting on deck. So the count goes full to Roberts, as was the case back in the first inning.
Daisuke stepping off the mound before that last pitch, going to his neck, perspiration on the ball. His old coach, with whom he had dinner on Monday night, Osamu Higashio.
Up the middle. Cora. Roberts with speed, but he is out at first. As we check in for a game break with Jeannie Zalasko in Los Angeles.
Hello. After a 40-minute rain delay in the Subway Series, Hideki Matsui did this up the middle. Derek Jeter and Alex Rodriguez would score. The Yankees have scored 2 runs in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. It is now 10-5 Yankees, bottom 7.
Thanks, Jeannie. Yankees' 9-game win streak came to an end last night. Wanted the 2nd win for the Mets in their last 10 games. Both Derek Jeter and A-Rod have gone deep for the Yankees today. Here's Randy Wynn, who grounded out to the second baseman Pedroia. His first time up.
Also involved in that dinner on Monday night was Kaz Matsui, the second baseman of the Colorado Rockies. So the 3 of them had dinner. And the one thing that his former coach told him was that he thought that the baseballs in the United States were slicker than they were in Japan. And the one thing he had noticed is Matsuzaka seems to be going to his mouth, going to his neck, and asked him if that was the case. And Matsuzaka said he was not sure. But we did a little research on the ball that is rubbed up before the game. They rub up 144 baseballs before the game. With Lena Blackburn's original baseball rubbing mud. And it's from the Delaware River. It's sold in New Jersey. And there, that young man right there is rubbing up 144 balls. And what that does, it gets the sheen off the ball and allows the pitcher to get a better grip of the ball. And those are a bag of rubbed up baseballs. Oh, Lena Blackburn, baseball rubbing mud. What a gig that is.
Well, our producer, Pete Machesko, lives in the state of New Jersey, so where exactly would Pete go to buy his very own Lena Blackburn baseball rubbing mud?
Original baseball rubbing mud. Delran, New Jersey. That's where the company is. The river is the Delaware River. And this is old Delaware River mud right here, folks.
Randy Wynn down on strikes. Third strikeout for Matsuzaka. Tim, can I have some of that?
Looked like a backup slider. You know what I was thinking about perhaps demonstrating what you do with this mud. I don't know if we can get a shot of that.
Looks
but
good.
Then I thought this mud and pink do not go together, so I decided not to do it. No chance. Can we see? Get a shot of that right there? Lena Blackburn's rubbing mud. And as you can see, that's some dark mud right there. This product was appropriately named. But he has not stepped off and rubbed the ball up as much as he usually does.
Durham bunts right into the glove of the third baseman, Mike Lowell. So Tim will continue to rub his hands during this commercial break. No score, middle of the third from Fenway.
Out, in spot.
On Fox.
Bottom of the third inning in Boston. Alex Cora leading off against Matt Cain. Red Sox have had only one base runner over the first 2 innings. David Ortiz walked back in the first as Cora takes ball 2. Two and one with Coco Crisp waiting on deck. And then J.D. Drew. Line drive caught by the shortstop, Vizquel, who's in the middle of just about everything in the field today for the Giants. Well, tomorrow, bring your dad to the ballpark. Join MLB, the Prostate Cancer Foundation, and Gillette in raising awareness for prostate cancer research. Log on to prostatecancerfoundation.org for more information. And Tim, tomorrow, players, managers, coaches, trainers, umpires, and groundskeepers will all be wearing blue wristbands, blue ribbon uniform decals, blue eye glare, and temporary blue ribbon tattoos. The color blue has come to symbolize prostate cancer awareness. And the special Major League Baseball blue ribbon Father's Day logo will be highlighted on the bases, the lineup cards, and ceremonial home plate.
That's a nice thing, and Michael Milken certainly has done a lot for prostate cancer research. He was recently at Fenway Park just this week with Tommy Lasorda, and they have done a wonderful job raising awareness of prostate cancer.
The 2-0 to Coco Crisp. He fouls it back. And in an effort to emphasize the impact of a disease that strikes 1 out of every 6 American men and is the second leading cause of male cancer death, all games played tomorrow on Father's Day will celebrate a 6th inning stretch as well as the traditional 7th inning stretch.
Oh, that's nice.
2-1 to Crisp. Deep left center. Off the Green Monster. First hit of the day for the Red Sox. It's from the number 9 hitter in the batting order, Coco Crisp. A stand-up, 1-out double.
Two hits in this ball game and both doubles off the Monster. This one the looping variety, and obviously would be an out in any other ballpark. But the Monster strikes again as it has since 1912. A lot of dents on the Green Monster.
Strike call to J.D. Drew, who struck out back in the first inning. Crisp takes his lead off second with 1 out. Fastball missing inside, 1-1.
You think about the time you mentioned earlier, the last time the Red Sox played in this ballpark, 1915, 2 years before the Russian Revolution. So before the Russian Revolution and after Glasnost.
17 presidents ago.
Yeah.
And in 1915, it was the New York Giants and the Boston Braves. The last time the Giants franchise played the Red Sox here, the 1912 World Series. 1912, the year Fenway Park first opened. And the Red Sox won the World Series in 8 games, 4-3 with 1 tie. Game 2 finished tied at 6, called after 11 innings on account of darkness. As Drew fouls it back. Red Sox won Game 8, 3-2. Christy Mathewson, the losing pitcher in that 8th and decisive game. He's 3rd on the all-time wins list with 373. A 1-2 from Cain. Fastball missing inside. In that 8th game of the 1912 World Series, a play that has been immortalized as the Snodgrass Muff. New York Giants center fielder Fred Snodgrass dropped a fly ball to the bottom of the 10th inning, and it led to the Red Sox winning the 1912 World Series. This pitch gets away from the catcher Molina. Crisp around third, and after a wide turn, he heads back.
Benji Molina slow getting to that ball, and Coco Crisp at least causing Molina to make a play at home plate. A lot of times with your back to the playing field, the crowd will let you know how important the play is behind you. So Molina could hear the crowd saying, uh-oh, Crisp may be trying to score. He did round the bag, but the throw to Cain, and now the infield will be playing up.
Pass ball charged to the catcher Molina. And with the infield in, payoff pitch upcoming to J.D. Drew. Another foul.
The difference in a pass ball and a wild pitch could be measured in the pitcher's earned run average. If that were a wild pitch, for instance, and Chris were to score on a sacrifice fly, it would be an earned run. But because it's a pass ball, if he gets a sacrifice fly now, an unearned run.
Payoff pitch. Shallow left. Coming on is Wynn. He makes the catch. Chris will hold. Now 2 away.
Boy, that was an excellent changeup from Matt Cain to get J.D. Drew. Watch how far out in front Drew is. He even one-hands the ball. Getting under it, totally fooled. Good pitch by Cain. And that keeps Crisp at third for the time being.
So with 2 outs, here's Dustin Pedroia. Fly to right back in the first inning, coming off his 5-hit game last night. Crisp takes his lead off third with 2 outs. Strike 1 to Pedroia. Here's a look at Dustin's Burger King Hot Zone. Likes it low and away.
He has been spreading them around, I'll tell you. We mentioned in the opening, a guy was batting 172 on the 1st of May. And Terry Francona saying, hey, you know, I'd never seen him play a lot of games, but every place he had been, including Ron Jackson, the manager at Pawtucket, saying that Dustin Pedroia is a battler. I'll tell you, Crisp at third base is moving down the line. It's really a situation where if you're Matt Cain, you might think about working from the stretch here. Had 1 steal of home this year by Aaron Hill of the Toronto Blue Jays against the New York Yankees and Andy Pettitte. But Pettitte, a left-hander, and had his back to third at the time.
Count remains 0-2 on Pedroia. 2 outs, bottom of the 3rd inning. David Ortiz waiting on deck should Pedroia reach. No score from Fenway. Pedroia hit .415 during the month of May. He was named the American League Rookie of the Month after a slow start in April. And he pops this one up left field. Wynn is under it. Crisp stranded on third. When we come back, Barry Bonds will lead off in the 4th for the Giants. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by the makers of Tinactin. It cools, cures, and even prevents most athletes' foot. By Burger King, who reminds you to have it your way. And by Black & Decker, powerful solutions for Father's Day. We welcome those of you who have been watching the Braves and the Indians. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver here at Fenway Park. Ken Rosenthal with us as well. Barry Bonds steps in against Daisuke Matsuzaka and rips one foul.
Short and compact. A man who has struck out over 100 times one season back in 1986.
Intentionally walked his first time up back in the 1st inning. 1 for 3 with a walk last night. The 0-1. Center field. Coco Crisp on a warning track, 1 out. Well, Tim and I chatted just prior to the Bonds at bat with Red Sox manager Terry Francona, who told us before the game that his dad, former major leaguer Tito, was in town last night. Father's Day coming up tomorrow. Your dad was in town last night?
Yeah, I guess. He was doing I think a card show, and he called me on his cell phone as he was driving by Fenway and said, "Hello, son, I'm driving right by," but he had to get back. They had a thing going in Cleveland too, for some of the guys, and he really wanted to get back to that. So I think that took precedent.
Your thoughts on Daisuke so far this afternoon?
You know, he seems like right now the cutter slider seems to be the pitch to lefties that's really working for him. As he progresses and he gets into the game, he usually finds, you know, he gets the feel for that changeup, and that's when he can really start getting effective.
What are you looking for here against Bonds leading off?
Hope he makes an out. You know, we talk about pitching around him and things like that, but I think the one thing that happens sometimes when you walk him early is you don't get a hitter that's as intelligent as him and as dangerous that many looks at what Daisuke's throwing.
Big difference in walking him to lead off the inning, right? Tito?
Yeah, we're not going to do that, but we recognize how dangerous he is.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay, guys.
And Terry Francona got his wish as Bonds flied out to center field. Followed by a Molina base hit to left. So a one-out base runner for the Giants with Nate Scherholz at the plate. Scherholz grounded out to second. His first time up, takes ball one. One out, top of the fourth inning here in Boston with no score. One and one on Scherholz. Two balls, one strike. Scherholz, 23 years of age. Second round draft pick of the Giants back in '03. Two and two. Matsuzaka looking to end a three-game losing streak. He had won 6 consecutive decisions prior to these last 3. Molina takes his lead off first. Baratek flashes the sides. And Scherholz is called out on strikes. 4th strikeout for Matsuzaka.
Something that a young hitter like Scherholz will learn. Never let a pitcher get you out of way with 2 strikes on you, which means you're vulnerable inside. You can't protect both sides of the plate. But that is a pitch that you've got to keep alive if you're a hitter, and he ends up taking it totally fooled on that fastball away. 2-seam fastball.
So with 2 outs, here's Rich Aurelian, who struck out his first time up. First pitch, and he pops it foul down the left field line. 0-1. It's 5 o'clock here in the East. We come to you from Fenway Park in Boston, second of a 3-game series. Red Sox won last night's game 10-2. Kenny Albert with Tim McCarver and Ken Rosenthal. Red Sox and Giants scoreless. Top of the 4th inning. Barry Bonds is 0 for 1. He was intentionally walked in the first inning and flied out to the warning track in center field here in the 4th. Benji Molina, the runner on first with 2 outs. And Rich Aurelia at the plate. 0-2. Aurelia making his return today, Tim. He missed the last 4 games with a neck injury. Took injections in his neck earlier this week.
Thought that last pitch was high. When a pitcher looks back over the job that he's done after starting a game, it's amazing how many bad pitches he realizes he got away with. He's made 2 of them to Aurelia.
Aurelia gets a piece of it.
That's another one on an 0-2 count. Backup slider right down the pipe on that first pitch. Aurelia just missed it. And then a high outside strike, and then he leaves one over the middle of the plate. So really 3 bad sliders to Aurelia that he's gotten away with.
0-2. Aurelia holds. Now 1 ball, 2 strikes. .61 pitches for Matsuzaka. I told you earlier he averages 109 pitches per start. Just missing on the outside corner, 2-2.
Rich playing first base, of course, for the Giants today. But a man as a shortstop once hit 37 home runs for the Giants.
Got him. Strikeout number 5 for Daisuke. Middle of the 4th, no score here in Boston. David Ortiz leading off for the Red Sox here in the 4th inning against Matt Cain. Ortiz, one of 2 Red Sox to reach base over the first 3 innings. He walked back in the first. 1-1. Ortiz in a bit of a slump, has not driven in a run over his last 6 games, only 1 RBI in his last 9 with Manny Ramirez waiting on deck. Cain missing inside, 2-1.
A lot of times the slumps and RBIs depend on whether the hitters in front of you are getting on or not. They're the ones who create the RBI opportunity.
Ortiz, the leading vote getter at first base in American League All-Star balloting. The Red Sox front office this week petitioned Major League Baseball to add Kevin Youkilis to the players ballot, since Ortiz has a sizable lead in the fan balloting. In fact, 2 years ago, Ortiz became the first Red Sox in history to lead all of Major League Baseball in fan balloting, and then Manny Ramirez was the leader last season.
Yeah, the big difference was David Ortiz went to the All-Star game several years ago, and Manny elected not to go last year.
And Ortiz called out on strikes. We assume, unlike last night, he will not throw the helmet this time.
Nope. Now being run in last night's game. You don't want 2 ejections in less than 24 hours. This pitch looked like it had part of the plate. A lot of times a tailing fastball like that will catch the front part of the plate. Catcher catches it off the plate. Well, that ball was a strike.
So Ortiz quietly walks back to the Red Sox dugout and will place his helmet on the rack as Manny Ramirez swings and misses, 0-1. Manny Ramirez with 478 career home runs, just 22 shy of 500. A target for Manny above the Green Monster. Ball 2, says the first base umpire, Greg Gibson.
You know, when you think about it, that's one thing you do not see is a check swing for a strike. Manny Ramirez with 478 career home runs.
Barry Bonds was 1 year older than Manny is now when he hit his 478.
Yep.
The 2-1, driven to left. It is career home run number 479. Over the Green Monster, 1-0 Red Sox.
Mistake is hit out of the ballpark, but that a real hanging slider from Matt Cain. Right up around the letters.
0-2 now on Youkilis.
That last pitch had some giddy up on it. That was a fastball in about the same spot. There was a big difference between a fastball up around the letters and a slider that just hangs there.
44th career interleague home run for Manny Ramirez. Now 1-2 on Lowell. In the runs batted in department, only Carlos Delgado has more interleague RBIs in his career than Ramirez. Lowell, left field, base hit. So Youkilis on at first, and Lowell will step to the plate.
So after the slider to Ramirez, the curveball now to Youkilis. Not a lot of bite in the breaking balls thrown by Matt Cain in this inning. Not bad location, but it just rolled to that spot. No bite on it.
One out, bottom of the 4th inning. Red Sox leading 1-0. Here's Mike Lowell, grounded out to the shortstop, Vizquel, his first time up. Ball 1.
You know, the only 2 runs that Matt Cain has given up in his last, 13+ innings. The home run, the solo shot by Marco Scutaro in the 8th inning of last Sunday's game, a game won by the Athletics 2-0. And then the home run to Manny Ramirez today.
In his last start, as Lowell fouls it off to the right side. That game was scoreless in the 8th. When Scutaro took Cain deep. Cain has not received much run support at all. The Giants scored 15 runs for him in one game this year, but in his other 12 starts, they have scored a total of 24 runs. The 1-1 gets past Molina, and Youkilis is in at second.
Benji with a pass ball earlier, and that's a fastball that Benji Molina would probably tell you that he should have had. And fastball getting by Molina, that is scored a wild pitch.
Cain's 7th wild pitch this season, 2nd most in the National League. So Youkilis now in scoring position, 2-1 count with Lowell at the plate. 1-0 Red Sox, bottom of the 4th. 3-1. Only Aaron Harang of the Reds has thrown more wild pitches this season in the National League than Matt Cain. Also 2nd in the league in walks. Pop foul. Now full as we check in downstairs with Ken Rosenthal. Ken?
The deal was discussed, Kenny, at the winter meetings. Matt Cain for Manny Ramirez. Now, obviously, it never materialized. The Red Sox were concerned about losing too much offense. And the Giants' intentions were never quite clear, but that was during a period when the Giants were exploring possible alternatives to Barry Bonds. Ramirez in a trade, Alfonso Soriano, and Carlos Lee as free agents. They went back to Bonds when all of their options fell through.
And Cain pitching against the Red Sox here this afternoon. Thanks, Ken. Lowell flies out to Randy Winn in left for out number 2. Cain just 22 years of age. In fact, he is 3 months younger than Tim Lincecum, his teammate. Yet Cain today is making his 52nd Major League start.
Tim Lincecum turned 23 yesterday.
Cain and Mike McCormick, who won the Cy Young Award back in 1967, are the only 2 San Francisco Giants to start 50 games before their 23rd birthdays. Here's Jason Varitek with 2 outs. Low and inside, ball 1. Varitek popped out to the first baseman, Aurelia. His first time up. Manny Ramirez, a solo home run, his 9th of the season. Earlier this inning to give the Red Sox the 1-0 lead. One and one. Up until last night, the Red Sox have had trouble scoring runs as of late. And 7 of their last 10, Manny giving out hugs in the Red Sox dugout. In 7 of their last 10 games, the Red Sox have been held, Tim, to 2 or fewer runs. On Red Sox like.
But good pitching will keep you in a lot of those games. And what good pitching allows you to do, it allows you to be human. And it doesn't mean that you're looking for a slump, but when you do, you're going to win games that most teams don't win because of the strong pitching. Strong starting pitching certainly frees up the offense, allows guys to relax.
And that explains why the Red Sox have gone 5-5 over the last 10, despite scoring a plethora of runs.
Right.
8.5 game lead in the American League East, although the Yankees lead the Mets in the 8th inning 11-6, so it looks like that lead will be cut down to 8 before the end of this game. Red Sox led the Yankees by as many as 14.5 back in late May. But the Yankees won 9 in a row prior to last night as they have moved to the 9th inning in the Bronx. 1-2, and Varitek goes down on strikes. 3rd strikeout for Cain, but the Red Sox take the lead. Career home run number 479 off the bat of Manny Ramirez. Coming up next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, the Giants will host the New York Yankees. Some of you will see the Astros and the Rangers. Coverage begins with the pregame show at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, right here on Fox. Check local listings. Pedro Feliz leading off for the Giants here in the 5th inning against Daisuke Matsuzaka. Yankees will make their first ever regular season trip to San Francisco next weekend. And their first trip since 1962.
1962, when Willie McCovey lined into Bobby Richardson's glove to make the last out in Game 7 of the 1962 World Series.
Feliz pops it up. Coming on is Pedroia, makes the catch behind the mound for out number 1. We spoke with Giants manager Bruce Bochy moments ago and asked him about the first time he stepped foot here in Fenway Park when he managed the National League All-Star team in 1999.
Well, something I'll never forget, and all the players that were there will never forget it too. That pregame ceremony was so special, and to see Ted Williams come out and see all the great players on the field. You know, I even told myself, standing there watching that, how lucky I was to be on the field at the time and watching that ceremony. They just did a tremendous job, and I know a moment we'll all remember.
Only 2 base runners for the Red Sox so far. Your thoughts on Matt Cain's performance?
Well, he's throwing the ball well. He's got great stuff. I mean, this young kid, he's special, and he's using all his pitches right now, and he's got a good fastball, but he's come up with a good curveball and slider, and he'll use his changeup. So it's a good matchup right now. We're just looking for a timely hit.
That's what I was going to say, Bruce. Not a lot a pitcher can do about no offense, right?
Well, you know, his record is not indicative of how he's thrown the ball. He's had some great games where he doesn't have much to show for it, but you got to get the timely hits. First couple innings, we had runners in scoring position. It's just missing right now.
Thanks, Bruce. Best of luck.
All right, thanks, guys. We'll see you.
First-year Giants manager Bruce Bochy. We chatted with Bruce prior to the bottom of the 4th inning when Manny Ramirez took Matt Cain deep. He was the skipper for the National League here in the summer of '99 as the count goes to 1-2 on Vizquel. After his San Diego Padres reached the World Series in '98, and Bruce, living in San Diego, managing the Padres, got to know Ted Williams very well. This will look back to the festivities that great night in July of '99. Vizquel called out on strikes. Strikeout number 6 for Matsuzaka.
Good fastball from Matsuzaka, who's been so consistent in the strike zone. After allowing 2 walks in the first inning, one, of course, an intentional walk. Only 2 base runners for the Giants thus far. But Teddy Ballgame, of course, from the San Diego area and very close friends. Bruce was telling us before the game with the curator of the San Diego Baseball Museum, the Hall of Fame Museum, and an unhappy Omar Vizquel.
Here's Dave Roberts. Walked in the first, grounded to short in the third. And Bruce was telling us, along with Ken Rosenthal, about the time that Ted Williams and Tony Gwynn would spend together.
Yeah.
Discussing the art of hitting.
Telling Tony that he had to pull more balls. And Tony, sure enough, Bruce was saying he hit more home runs after that chat with Ted Williams. And speaking of Tony Gwynn, in about a month, he and Cal Ripken Jr. will be in the Hall of Fame. Our congratulations to those 2 remarkable players.
2 tremendous careers, and they will be enshrined in Cooperstown next month. Two and one on Roberts, 2 outs. Top of the 5th inning, Randy Wynn waiting on deck. Barry Bonds today 0 for 1 with an intentional walk. 2-2. Giants have been scuffling. They've lost 14 of their last 20 that have been stifled by Matsuzaka so far today. They have only 2 hits, a double by Feliz in the second, a single off the bat of Molina in the 4th.
And they really have, Kenny, a station-to-station offense. The second oldest team in the last 50 years. The only team older was the Giants last year. So with the exception of the man at the plate, Dave Roberts, not a lot of speed offensively. Barry Bonds will run occasionally.
Bonds perfect this year, 4 for 4.
Yeah. But a guy, 513 stolen bases for Barry Bonds in his career.
Matsuzaka quickly off the mound. He fires to first. And the Giants are retired in order in the 5th. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Chevy. An American Revolution. 1-0 Red Sox. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal. As Alex Cora takes ball one from Matt Cain, who has allowed a run on 3 hits over the first 4 innings. 1-1 on Cora. He'll be followed by Crisp and then Drew. Manny Ramirez, 4th inning solo home run to give the Red Sox the lead. Nice backhanded diving stab by Aurelia, the toss to Cain to retire Cora.
Boy, that was a good play. Rich Aurelia does not have a lot of range. That's why he's playing first and not short. But very quick feet to Cain covering. Nicely done.
So here's Coco Crisp, who doubled back in the 3rd inning and was subsequently stranded on 3rd. Bunts, Cain quickly off the mound. He fires to first to retire Crisp for out number 2. Tim, time now for our AutoZone Strike Zone.
Both pitchers throwing about the same number of pitches. One mistake in this game, and I think you can, for the most part, clearly say that it was the only mistake thrown by either pitcher. A real hanging slider from Matt Cain to Manny Ramirez. Catchers don't catch those too often.
Pitchers duel. Only 5 hits in this game. That not the case at Yankee Stadium, where the Mets are trailing in the top of the 9th by 4, 11-7. They have the bases loaded with Jose Reyes at the plate.
Wow.
Jose Reyes, who homered in last night's game off Roger Clemens.
And Mariano Rivera, the pitcher.
Fastball missing inside, 2-2 on J.D. Drew.
That was a good slider there, but in my experience, Kenny, I would say that a slider more than any other pitch, you can make more mistakes with that than anything.
The handcuff Vizquel, and then he recovered and threw out J.D. Drew. So a 1-2-3 5th. Barry Bonds due up 3rd and the 6th for the Giants. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Diet Pepsi. More Cola Taste. By Monster.com. Post your resume on Monster.com and let Monster work for you. And by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. We move to the 6th here in Boston. Red Sox lead the Giants 1-0. Wynn, Durham, and Bonds. This inning against Daisuke Matsuzaka. As Wynn squares to bunt, takes strike 1. He has grounded out to the second baseman Pedroia and struck out his last time up. Yankees hold on and have defeated the Mets 11-8. Cutting the Red Sox lead back down to 8 games in the American League East. The Yankees have now won 10 of their last 11. The 1-1. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Kenny, earlier, good slider from Matsuzaka. We did talk about the guy who hits behind Barry Bonds. Today it's Benji Molina. Well, obviously it's very important for the guys who hit in front of them. Randy Wynn has had a pretty good year. Ray Durham a pretty good year. But you got to get men on base when Bonds comes to the plate. Otherwise it makes it very, very easy for the opposition to determine whether to pitch to him or not.
And with Barry Bonds making his Fenway debut last night, He had never even been in the ballpark prior to yesterday, as the count is now full on Wynn. You cannot go anywhere in the city without hearing some kind of opinion about Barry Bonds.
Oh, absolutely. Whatever city he is in, you will hear an opinion about Barry Bonds.
Wynn draws a walk. Ken Rosenthal certainly has his opinions on the subject, and he touched on it yesterday on FoxSports.com in his column. Ken, fill us in.
Kenny, a different view of Bonds will be required if it ever becomes clear 5 months from now, 5 years, 5 decades from now, that the majority of players were using performance-enhancing drugs. Let's say it was 70%, including some of the game's biggest names. The only possible conclusion at that point would be that the drugs were embedded in the game's culture and that Bonds was playing on roughly the same playing field as most of his peers. In other words, the Mitchell investigation, the federal investigation, they could actually benefit Bonds if they reveal the excesses of the era without implicating him further. The more we find out, the less he will be in solitary confinement on Steroid Island.
Ripped into right field by Durham. Wynn holds at second, and Bonds will step in with 2 on and nobody out here in the 6th.
And here's the situation that Bruce Bochy was talking about, having men on base for their big bopper.
We welcome those of you who have joined us from Cleveland, who have been watching the Indians and the Braves. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal from Fenway Park. Top of the 6th inning. Red Sox on a Manny Ramirez home run lead the Giants 1-0. Giants have runners on first and second with nobody out. And Barry Bonds stepping in for the 3rd time today against Daisuke Matsuzaka. He was intentionally walked in the first, flied out to center field in the 4th. First pitch of this at-bat, fastball missing inside, ball 1. .747 career home runs. 13 this season. 8 shy of tying baseball's all-time home run king, Henry Aaron.
And that's the one thing you rarely see is Bonds complain about a pitch. But usually if Bonds says it was outside, it was outside. As Bruce Bochy told us before the game, he has the best pair of eyes in the ballpark last night, and I would imagine that has not changed today either. But that pitch clearly looked outside, called outside by Charlie Relaford, or called for a strike, an outside strike.
In the first inning last night, hit what he thought was home run number 748. It went up and over the pesky pole, the foul pole in right field. But it was ruled a foul ball. And Charlie Relaford, the first base umpire last night who ruled it foul, is working the plate today.
Yeah. And Bruce Bochy once again telling us before the game that Barry was not arrogant about it, but he said that ball was fair, that he thought it was fair. And Bochy again said, well, as far as he's concerned, they were the best guys in the ballpark.
1 ball, 2 strike count. Nobody out, runners on first and second. Daisuke to Barry Bonds. On the ground into the shift. They can't turn 2 because of the shift. Bonds is thrown out by the shortstop Cora, but both runners advance.
Yeah, there's nobody there. Mike Lowell was playing third. Alex Cora was to the right of second base. He's too far away to tag the bag himself. There you can see Alex right there. Mike Lowell's here. So there's really no place to go but first. So a swinging sacrifice by Barry Bonds.
And now with 1 out, Benji Molina, who has one of the 3 Giants hits today, comes up with runners on second and third. Batting .365 with runners in scoring position. 0-1. The Burger King hot zone on Molina.
I guess you could say that it's pretty comfortable if Daisuke wants to stay outside. That is his best chance of getting Molina out.
Line drive caught by the shortstop Cora. Back in at third. Safely as Wynn.
Boy, that was close at third base. I mean, very closer than it should have been. Randy Wynn a bit lackadaisical going back into third base. Good call by Tony Randazzo. So that ball over the heart of the plate hit hard by Molina. And a very close call for the Giants at third base.
There's Durham, who takes his lead off second. And an opportunity for Shearholtz to drive in his first major league run. Second and third, now 2 out. With the Giants trailing the Red Sox 1-0. To follow up on Ken Rosenthal's last report, for what it's worth, the former state senator from Maine, the Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell, who is heading up the steroids investigation for Major League Baseball, is a member of the Red Sox partners and directors. He is listed as a director of the Boston Red Sox franchise. 0-2 on Shearholtz.
Well, right now the Mitchell investigation has turned up nothing. And you just have to wonder whether it's a public relations ploy or whether they're going to turn up hard evidence.
He is scheduled
with the cooperation of the Players Union.
Scheduled to meet with Jason Giambi of the New York Yankees this week.
I mean, you can't force him to say anything other than what he said.
Fans on their feet. The 0-2. Daisuke missing away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Wynn drew a walk leading off the inning. Durham singled to right. Bonds grounded out to the right side, advancing both runners. Molina lined out to the shortstop. And now the 1-2 to the rookie Shearholtz. 2-2.
Sometimes you don't have to throw a strike to get one. And the best time to do that is with a young hitter at the plate. Young and aggressive, only 15 major league at-bats. I think that's what Veritek is going to talk about right now. The problem with that is if you go out of the strike zone down, then it's up to the catcher to keep the ball in play. Otherwise, you have a tie ball game.
Terry Francona told you and I before the game, when Veritek speaks with Daisuke, it is always in English.
Right. Now, Daisuke may not know some of the terms from a cultural standpoint, but he does know the baseball terms.
Veritek has learned some Japanese phrases. In fact, earlier in the season, he wore a wristband with some of those phrases as a reminder, but now they only use English when they communicate. The 2-2. Daisuke hits Shearholtz with the pitch, so the bases are now full of Giants.
Trying to come inside off the plate for that tailing fastball, but it stays up in the zone. And obviously inside it hits Shearholtz on the right bicep.
So the bases are loaded for Rich Aurelia, who back in 1997 hit the first interleague grand slam in baseball history. He did it against the Angels and pitcher Alan Watson. 0-1. on third. Durham on second. Scherholtz takes his lead off first. Aurelia held up. 1-1.
Rich Aurelia has struck out twice against Daisuke this afternoon on sliders like that last one, and Terry Francona wanted that pitch. It's very difficult, however, for managers or pitching coaches to determine whether it was over the plate or not. You have to rely on your catcher. But that was a pitch that could have been called a strike.
Not that one. 2-1. Nate Scherholtz will be able to tell his grandchildren that before he ever drove in a run in the major leagues, he was hit by a pitch by Daisuke Matsuzaka. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Aurelia at the plate. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Nate, of course, is only 23, which means it'll be a while before he becomes a grandfather.
Your grandson is in the booth with us today.
He is indeed.
Two and 2.
All the great pitchers, when they get in trouble, have the tendency to reach back and get 2 or 3 miles an hour extra. That's what Matsuzaka did then.
That last pitch was number 100 by Matsuzaka this afternoon. The 2-2, missing high and away. Full
Matsuzaka,
count.
excuse me, Kenny. Matsuzaka turning around to center field after that pitch and livid with himself. Very upset at how far he missed with that fastball on the 2-2 count. Watch this reaction.
Nowhere to put Aurelia. Strike 3 call. Aurelia down on strikes for the 3rd time today. The Giants strand 3 in the 6th. Continue to trail the Red Sox 1-0.
On Fox.
Dustin Pedroia leading off for the Red Sox. Bottom of the 6th inning. Boston hanging on to their 1-0 lead. Giants loaded the bases in the top half. And then Matsuzaka struck out Rich Aurelia for the 3rd time today. Aurelia shouldn't feel too bad. His former teammate in Seattle, Ichiro, struck out in his first 3 appearances against Daisuke back in Japan years ago. Pretty good company.
Yeah, but with the bases loaded in a 1-0 game, I don't think Rich has any solace out of that thought. No.
Pedroia 0 for 2. Pascal moving to his left. Pedroia 0 for 3.
Now, what happened is the first slider to Rich Aurelia. You remember the first pitch was a strike, bases loaded. The second pitch was called a ball by Charlie Relaford. Well, with the count 3-2, Daisuke throws the same pitch. A slider low and away. And this time, he's rung up. And that's what Aurelia was arguing with, I would assume, is be consistent. If the first pitch is a ball, then the second slider is also. But not so, says Charlie Relaford.
Including that Aurelia at bat, the Giants, over their last 2+ games, are now 1 for their last 26 with runners in scoring position. Wow. 1 for 26. Grounded foul by Ortiz, 1-1. Ortiz walked in the first inning. Struck out in the fourth. On deck, the man who produced the game's only run so far. Another foul to the right side. 1-2. Time called by the home plate umpire, Relaford. 1 ball, 2 strike count with 1 out, bottom of the 6th inning. Cain to Ortiz. A towering foul to the right side.
Saw that flashed up on your screen. San Diego beating the Chicago Cubs 1-0. And that's a score here. You don't get too many low-scoring ball games in these two ballparks, Wrigley Field and Fenway Park.
Ortiz to left. Wynn settles under it for out number 2. Time now for our Pepsi Clutch Performer of the Game. Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball. We take you back to the 4th inning. Manny going deep. 9th home run of the season, number 479 of his career. To learn more about the Pepsi Clutch Performer Award and sweepstakes, visit PepsiClutch.com for Ramirez, his first home run in his last 51 at-bats. Interesting story involving Manny Ramirez. You sent it down to Ken Rosenthal.
Kenny, Giants pitching coach Dave Righetti knew Manny Ramirez, or at least knew about Manny Ramirez before any of us. During his final years with the Yankees, Righetti lived in the same neighborhood as Ramirez, Washington Heights in Upper Manhattan. He even remembers his address, 181st and Cabrini. And those were the days when Manny was a high school legend. It was before he was drafted by the Cleveland Indians with the 13th pick in the 1991 draft. Righetti said he never actually saw Ramirez play, but he remembers everyone knew his name.
Thanks, Ken. Washington Heights, the area right around the George Washington Bridge, just minutes away from Yankee Stadium. You don't hear about too many Major League ball players living in Washington Heights. Manny Ramirez played at George Washington High School.
Right.
For a coach named Steve Mandel, where he hit over 600 his senior year with 14 home runs. .479 home runs, and he is now 3 RBIs shy of tying former Giant great Willie McCovey for 36th on the all-time list. McCovey with 1,555 runs batted in during his illustrious career.
One of the more terrifying hitters for a first baseman. From a first baseman standpoint, particularly if a first baseman was holding a runner on, and to have Willie McCovey hitting. The guy that I played with who knew him so well was Orlando Cepeda, the MVP in 1967. And he said, he used to kid about it, saying, you know, with McCovey at the plate, I'd prefer to play behind the runner. Get me as far away from the runner as possible.
Ramirez, right field. Schierholtz makes the catch. A 1-2-3 6th for Cain. We'll return after these messages from your local Fox station.
You're watching Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week.
Our in-game box score brought to you by Avodart. Only 3 hits for the Giants. Durham, Molina, and Feliz. 1-0 Red Sox. We move to the 7th. Pedro Feliz leading off against Matsuzaka. And he fouls off the first pitch down the left field line. 0-1. Hideki Okajima up and throwing in the Red Sox pen. Tim, you spoke earlier about Daisuke's meeting earlier this week. He had dinner with his former manager, Osamu Nagashio, as well as his former teammate Kaz Matsui.
Right.
Nagashio, following your footsteps, worked as an analyst, television analyst in Japan.
About that.
And his daughter plays on the LPGA Tour.
I did know that.
Veritek settles under it. And Feliz is retired. His daughter Rico, out of the University of Florida, the 2004 LPGA Rookie of the Year.
Formerly the pitching coach and manager of Daisuke Matsuzaka for the Seibu Lions in Japan, and a man who won 251 games himself in the Japanese league.
And as you mentioned, he felt that Matsuzaka was going to his mouth more often between pitches. Here's Omar Vizquel, who has struck out twice. One 1-0 Red Sox. Top of the 7th from Fenway. Now 2-0. You also piqued my interest when talking about that Lena Blackburn.
Lena Blackburn, yeah.
The rubbing mud.
Original rubbing mud.
You know, I've been wondering for the last 3 innings who exactly Lena Blackburn is. Are you aware?
I'm sure you've been wondering that. Who is Lena Blackburn?
Through the beauty of technology.
Yes.
We have Googled.
Aha.
Lena Blackburn. 2-0. Vizquel pops it up. Behind second. Making the catch is Pedroia for out number 2. Lena was the nickname of Russell Blackburn, who was an infielder for the White Sox, the Reds, the Boston Braves, and the Phillies, and also managed the White Sox in the late 20s. And he is best remembered for his extensive use of rubbing mud when he played.
What is even more interesting is how he got the nickname Lena.
I do not have that answer for you.
That is, that's good.
Russell Lena Blackburn.
Uh-huh.
I know you were wondering.
We have given Russell Lena Blackburn a lot of airtime today.
And the sales of rubbing mud have increased throughout the afternoon.
Hey, I mean, that's what they rub the balls up with before every game. A gross of balls, 144. So, hey, give credit where credit's due.
Named after a former Major League infielder, former manager of the White Sox.
Yeah.
Dave Roberts 0 for 2 with a walk in his return to Boston. Ovations last night. More of the same this afternoon. One of the postseason heroes for the Red Sox back in October of 04. Two and 2. And like Matsuzaka, Dave Roberts was born in Japan.
Actually, Okinawa. I believe Dave's mom is Okinawan, and his father was in the service there.
To Roberts, a call, strike 3 on the outside corner, 8th strikeout for Daisuke. 7th inning stretch time in Boston. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by Fast Acting Roundup. Kills weeds to the root, even in the rain. By Midas. Who's counting on your brakes today? Be safe. Trust the Midas touch. and by New York Life, the company you keep. Bottom of the 7th inning. No runs on 3 hits for the Giants. 1 run, only 3 hits for the Red Sox. Kevin Youkilis singled his last time up. And he sends this one to deep right center. And the catch is made on the warning track by the right fielder, Shearholtz. Home plate umpire Charlie Relaford wearing a microphone for us this afternoon. Let's listen.
Man, you got almost as good a seat as I do. Who brought you to the game? You need to thank him. It's very special. This is a brand new ball. We make them dirty on purpose, but it's brand new. Play with it. Don't save it.
Play with it. Don't save it. And yet another pop for Lena Blackburn.
We make them dirty on purpose.
Right.
Two 2-0 on Lowell. Mike Lowell 0 for 2. Matt Cain has retired 9 consecutive Red Sox. Back in the 4th inning, Manny Ramirez homered. Youkilis then singled to left. No Red Sox has reached base since the 4th. High and tight, 3-1 on Lowell.
Here Matt Cain is probably thinking, I pitched the last 15 innings, giving up 2 solo home runs, and nothing to show for it yet, as his Giants have not scored for him during that time.
Full count. Red Sox with only 3 hits today. Coming into this game, Cain in his career allowed an opponent's batting average of just .213. Among active pitchers, only Pedro Martinez has done better in that department.
That's really remarkable. And once again, Matt Cain entering this game with a 2-6 record, winning 13 games as a rookie last year. But he has a bright future in front of him, and Bruce Bochy understands that. You have no control over the runs scored for you.
Lowell, center field, Roberts. 2 away. Well, tomorrow, Formula One racing returns to Fox as some of the world's greatest drivers attack the streets of Indianapolis in the U.S. Grand Prix. Coverage begins tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, only on Fox. 2 outs for the captain, Jason Varitek. 0 for 2, struck out his last time up. First pitch, fouls it back. 0-1. Barry Bonds today, 0 for 2 with a walk. Scheduled to bat 3rd for the Giants in the top of the 8th inning. Varitek reaches out and flies out to win in left. 7 innings in the books. Time now for a game break as we send you west to Jeannie Zalasko, Kevin Kennedy, and Eric Karros at the Fox Network Center. We move to the 8th inning here in Boston. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, and Ken Rosenthal. New pitcher for the Red Sox, 31-year-old left-hander Hideki Okajima. Look at that earned run average, 1.10 in 29 appearances. He allowed a home run on the first pitch he threw in the major leagues, and after that, 20 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings.
John Buck of the Kansas City Royals hit the home run. And of all the surprises in Major League Baseball this year, I don't think there have been any bigger surprises than Hideki Okajima. He is such an unusual pitcher in that you talk to the hitters who hit against him, and they call him funky. They can't pick the ball up. He's not a hard thrower. He doesn't have exceptional movement on his pitches. But with that the way he delivers the ball, he's very difficult to pick up. And that's one of the big reasons for his success.
He pitched the 8th inning last night. He retired Wynn, Durham, and Molina and allowed a base hit to Barry Bonds. Here's Wynn leading off. And Randy Wynn takes ball 1. 112 pitches for Matsuzaka. Did not allow a run in 7 innings. Only 3 hits. 3 walks. 1 intentional. Struck out 8. Look at the Red Sox pitching coach, John Farrell. 6th time in 14 starts that Daisuke has struck out at least 8 batters. One and 1.
We talked earlier about J.D. Drew, who's having a tough time waiting on pitches. What Okajima forces right-handers to do is jump out at the ball, and that's one of the worst things you can do as a hitter. Not wait for the ball to get deep to you. That's what happened to Randy Wynn on that first swing.
Okajima missing away, 2-1. Okajima on in relief of Daisuke Matsuzaka. To shut out the Giants over 7 innings. Giants loaded the bases in the 6th. Now 3-1 on Wynn. Giants loaded the bases in the 6th, and Aurelia struck out for the 3rd time today. Giants just 12th in the league in hits, 13th in runs, 13th in home runs, 6 games under 500. A leadoff walk drawn by Randy Wynn here in the 8th. So Ray Durham will come up, and then Barry Bonds. Bonds playing in his 2nd game here at Fenway. Hank Aaron played here 12 times, hit 1 home run in Fenway Park in his career. It was back in September of '75 with Milwaukee. Off the spaceman, Bill Lee, the 745th home run of Hank Aaron's career. The only home run that he hit at Fenway Park.
Of course, playing all those years for the Milwaukee Braves, then the Atlanta Braves, and then coming to the Milwaukee Brewers the latter part of his career.
Ball 1 to Durham. Henry Aaron originally signed with the Boston Braves in 1952, but never played a game as a member of the Boston Braves. Franchise moved to Milwaukee before he made his major league debut. Barry Bonds' godfather, Willie Mays, played 1 game here at Fenway. It was the All-Star game in 1961. The 1-0, a swing and a miss by Durham. 1-1. Barry Bonds got off to the hot start. 8 home runs in April. Only 4 in May, 1 here in June.
Riding high in April, shot down in May.
Came close last night. He has homered in 35 different ballparks against 27 different franchises. 2-1. Off 440 different pitchers. This is the 40th ballpark he has played in. The only team Bonds has never played against, the Cleveland Indians.
I think the most remarkable thing, of course you can say how many remarkable things about Barry Bonds, but the most remarkable thing from my standpoint is his pitch identification. How he can identify strikes and what type of pitches they are. We talked about his eyesight earlier. Ray Durham thought that pitch was low. And the Giants hopeful that they get a similar situation as last time. That Bonds was up when they had 1st and 2nd, nobody out.
And he grounded out to the right side into the shift. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Wynn takes his lead off first. Durham awaits the 2-2. In the dirt, full count.
I think Bruce Bochy has to send the runner here. And Ray Durham has to make sure it's a strike. 2 straight 3-2 counts. Of course, if you do send the runner and Durham strikes out, they're going to walk Bonds, but those are the chances you have to take. You send him and he gets a base hit. As a result, you have first and third.
Wynn holds, and Durham with a base hit into left field. So Bonds will come up in a similar situation as the 6th inning, with Wynn on second, Durham at first, and nobody out. Same exact situation. Remember, Bonds faced Okajima last night in the 8th inning and singled. Left-hander against left-hander. First and second, nobody out. Red Sox lead by a run. Ball 1. An intentional walk with 1 man on in the first. Fly out to center in the 4th. Grounded out in the 6th. Kyle Snyder up and throwing in the Red Sox pen. The 1-0 from Okajima. High. Ball 2. We welcome the viewers that have joined us from the Indians and the Braves. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal. Here at Fenway Park in Boston, Red Sox lead the Giants 1-0. Top of the 8th inning. Barry Bonds at the plate. Runners on first and second with nobody out.
Talked earlier about Daisuke Matsuzaka and Jason Varitek speaking English on the mound. Well, Okajima does not speak the same type English Matsuzaka does, centering and bordering around baseball terminology. So you have to wonder what John Farrell was saying. And how do you communicate?
Matsuzaka pitched 7 scoreless innings. Okajima came out here in the 8th. He walked Wynn. And that allowed a single off the bat of Ray Durham. The 2-0 to Bonds. In for a strike, 2-1.
2-0 curveball to Barry Bonds.
Bonds awaiting the 2-1. Two and 2.
You notice the infield alignment is different this time than it was the last time Bonds was up. Very rare that you see Barry taking 2 straight strikes. But Alex Cora, instead of being over here, is playing more or less straight up. So any ground ball to an infielder, they will go for the double play. That was not the case the last time Bonds was up.
The 2-2, a call, strike 3.
How about that? After the count was 2-0, the curveball for a strike, and then 2 straight fastballs to get Barry Bonds. And a man with 747 lifetime home runs doesn't swing at a pitch. Wonder how many times that's happened over the last 5 years. Man.
So Okajima wins the battle. 2 on, now 1 out for Benji Molina. Well, we spoke with Terry Francona earlier today. He told us Okajima's 2 best pitches are his Oki and his Okie-doke.
I thought you were going to say his Oki and his Jima.
I'm quoting his skipper. His Oki and his Okie-doke.
That's good.
Foul back by Molina, 0-1.
But again, you know, when he came in, of course, he ends up walking Randy Winn, gives up the base hit to Durham. But it's what we were talking about when you get a guy like Barry Bonds not swinging at 3 pitches with 2 runners on base. It gives you an idea of how funky this guy is. This just does not happen with Barry Bonds hitting. And now Jonathan Papelbon has joined Kyle Snyder.
Win on second. Durham takes his lead off first. Okajima missing high and away, 1-1. Two on, 1 out, top of the 8th inning. Red Sox on a Manny Ramirez home run. Lead the Giants 1-0. Molina, right field. J.D. Drew. 2 away. Holding at second is Wynn.
We just had a fascinating piece of information passed on to us. The San Diego Padres beat the Chicago Cubs 1-0 today at Wrigley Field. It's 1-0 here. Boston Red Sox on top with 2 out, 2 on in the 8th inning. The last time that they had 2 1-0 games at Wrigley and Boston in the same day, 1963.
Wow.
July 23rd, 1963. Home teams were both losers on that day. Of course, that can't be the case here with the Red Sox on top 1-0. Manny Ramirez home run, the only scoring in this ball game.
Kevin Franzen pinch hitting for Nate Shearholz with 2 on, 2 out. So if this score holds, it'll be the first time in close to 44 years that games at Wrigley and Fenway ended 1-0 on the same day. By the way, with the Giants coming to Fenway this weekend, the Cubs are now the only team that has never played here. Every other Major League Baseball club has played at least 1 series here at Fenway Park, except the Chicago Cubs.
Wow.
Kevin Franzen, the pinch hitter. Native of San Jose, idolized Robbie Thompson and Will Clark. As a youngster, attended San Jose State. 2 for 9 as a pinch hitter this season, batting .250 overall. One and 1.
mean, if you're a Giants fan, you got to love your chances. First and second, nobody out, and Barry Bonds against anybody. Five pitches to Bonds. Okajima falling behind in the count, and then 3 straight strikes.
One and two now on Franz. And in that game at Wrigley, Tim, Carlos Zambrano took a no-hitter into the 8th. Wow.
Let's take a look at the curveball to Bonds, and then another curve is high. Now the 2-0 curve sets the stage for the 2-1 fastball and the 2-2 fastball. Without taking the bat off his shoulder.
Bonds takes 5 consecutive pitches about as often as Wrigley and Fenway host 1-0 games on the same day. The 1-2, runners go, and Franzen fouls it back.
You have to be sure if you're Randy Wynn. Don't want to make the third out at third base. But he had a terrific jump. That's hard on a trail runner there, because the trail runner has to make sure that the runner in front of him isn't faking a break.
Giants 0 for 8 today with runners in scoring position, 1 for their last 28. The 1-2, Franzen reaches out on the ground to the shortstop. Call the toss to Pedroia, and the Giants strand 2 more base runners in the 8th. Fox Saturday Baseball is sponsored by DirecTV. For the most sports in HD, you've got to get DirecTV. By Miller Lite, for great taste, there's no debate. Miller Lite, always a good call. And by Flomax. Bottom of the 8th inning here at Fenway. Red Sox leading by a run as Kevin Franzen remains in the game in left field. Randy Wynn moves from left over to right. And the new pitcher for the Giants is 26-year-old right-hander Kevin Correa. And his first pitch to Alex Cora is ball 1.
Kevin's done a pretty good job in the Giants bullpen. You can see that opponent's batting average only .204. He leads the Giants bullpen in innings pitched and strikeouts.
Cora 0 for 2 today. He's 3 for 6 lifetime against Correa. Red Sox with a run on only 3 base hits. No hits for the Red Sox since the 4th inning. And again, a tough luck afternoon for Matt Cain, who allowed only the Manny Ramirez home run. But his ball club, as has been the case throughout the season, not able to support him with runs of their own.
Giants have not scored from Matt Cain 18 straight innings. And you might say, well, if he's carrying a 5 or 6 earned run average during those innings, well, that's one thing. But here's a guy who's allowed 2 solo home runs in his last 2 starts, and that has been it. But the Giants offense just cannot score for him.
And they have had their chances today. Giants had 2 base runners in the first inning. They loaded the bases in the 6th. They had 2 on with nobody out in the 8th. Cora stays alive with Coco Crisp waiting on deck. Red Sox look to maintain their 8.5 game lead over the Yankees, who beat the Mets earlier today 11-8. So the Red Sox lead at the moment is 8 as Cora is called out on strikes. Tim, our game summary brought to you by Flomax with 1 out in the bottom of the 8th inning. Career home run number 479 off the bat of Manny Ramirez. 7 shutout innings for Daisuke Matsuzaka. Only 1 run in 7 allowed by Giants starter Matt Cain.
And the Giants have not had a base runner since Kevin Youkilis's single back in the 4th inning. Or the Red Sox, I beg your pardon.
12 consecutive Red Sox have been retired since that Youkilis base hit. 4th inning, Manny. 9th home run of the season. Cain knew it immediately. That gave the Red Sox a 1-0 lead. And that lead still stands here in the bottom of the 8th inning with Coco Crisp at the plate. 1-1. Looking ahead, Giants have the bottom of the order due up in the 9th inning. Aurelia, Feliz, and Vizquel. Only 7 base hits in this game combined. Giants no runs, 4 hits. Red Sox 1 run on 3 hits. And as Tim mentioned, the last time 1-0 games were played on the same day at Fenway and Wrigley, July of 1963.
Had a look at Jonathan Papelbon. He will be the pitcher for the Red Sox in the 9th inning.
Full count. You know, you've talked throughout the afternoon about what the Red Sox have gotten from their starters as we take another look at that last pitch. John Lester working his way back. An outstanding performance last night for AAA Pawtucket as he allowed only 2 runs in 7 innings. Base hit left field. Only the 4th hit of the game for the Red Sox, and the 2nd off the bat of Coco Crisp.
Good at bat by Coco Crisp. 2-hit days are far and few between for Coco this year. And now with J.D. Drew up, I think you got to run in this situation. The reason you don't want to wait is because you have a right-handed batter on deck, and it's much tougher to throw behind a left-handed hitter than it is a right-hander. So if you're going to strike and run, do it now.
Drew on the first pitch for the base hit into right field. So the Red Sox, who had only 3 hits over the first 7 innings, string together back-to-back singles here in the 8th.
J.D. Drew's first hit of the afternoon.
Pedroia had as many hits last night by himself as the Red Sox have in today's game.
5 for 5. As we said earlier, the first time since Little League that he had 5 hits in a game.
He's 0 for 3 today. Runners on first and second, 1 out. On the ground to the shortstop, Vizquel to second for 1, on to first, double play. 6-4-3. Started by Vizquel, who has been involved in more double plays than any other shortstop in baseball history. So we head to the 9th. It's Jonathan Papelbon time in Boston. Next week on Fox Saturday Baseball, many of you will see these San Francisco Giants as they host the New York Yankees, who will make their first regular season trip to San Francisco. Astros take on the Rangers. Coverage begins with the pregame at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific, right here on Fox. Check your local listings. 1-0 Red Sox. Top of the 9th. Jonathan Papelbon with 15 saves and 23 appearances. Out of the Red Sox pen after Matsuzaka shut out the Giants through 7. And Okajima worked out of a 2-on, nobody out jam in the 8th.
Kenny, there are a lot of smart decisions made by organizations during the season, but one of the pivotal decisions made by the Red Sox was made for them by Papelbon in spring training. Slated to start this year and be part of the starting rotation was a mistake. And they corrected that early instead of allowing it to get in through the season, through a couple of months, and then working it. And thankfully for the Red Sox, from their standpoint, they made the right decision. And so did Papelbon.
They certainly did. Rich Aurilia leading off for the Giants. Has struck out 3 times today. Swings at the first pitch from Papelbon. And pops out to the second baseman, Pedroia, for out number 1. As we check in with Ken Rosenthal. Ken?
Kenny, Jonathan Papelbon told me before the game that he has felt 100% for every single outing this season. That's a significant difference from last year when by this point he was already starting to feel the onset of fatigue that led to his injury in September. The differences, he says, are the strict guidelines the Red Sox are following in his usage pattern, the exercise program he's following to strengthen the soldier, and the wake-up call he received last September. It made him realize his arm is a precious gift and that he had to take care of it.
Thanks, Ken. Strike 1 to Pedro Feliz.
I would think also the addition of Hideki Okajima as the setup man. He's been used in save situations sometimes. I mean, Francona has such confidence in the two of them, and they are proving to be a lethal combination and tandem for the Red Sox.
1 ball, 1 strike. Mark Sweeney has come out into the on-deck circle to pinch hit for Omar Vizquel, who is 0 for 3 today, 0 for his last 20 overall. 1 ball, 1 strike. Papelbon to Feliz. 1 and 2. Fans on their feet here at Fenway. Center field, Crisp on the run. Red Sox 1 out away as we welcome those of you who have been watching the Indians and the Braves. Kenny Albert, Tim McCarver, Ken Rosenthal. Here at Fenway, the only run in this game. Manny Ramirez solo shot. Career home run number 479 off Matt Cain in the 4th inning, giving the Red Sox a 1-0 lead. Daisuke Matsuzaka, 7 shutout innings. There have been 382 1-0 games in the history of Fenway Park. Red Sox winning 185, losing 197. And now Massachusetts native Mark Sweeney represents the Giants' last hope from Holliston, about 45 minutes from Boston. His parents, Dan and Peggy, are in the ballpark among 25 friends and family members. His 13th season, played at Fenway for the first time in his career last night.
Doubled in a run in his first at bat.
A diehard Red Sox fan remembers the 1975 World Series. His favorite player was Fred Lynn. And now he's hoping to break the hearts of the Red Sox and their fans by keeping this game alive. 1-1. Sweeney had played here at Fenway in 2 All-Star games during his days at the University of Maine, but had never stepped on this field as a major leaguer until last night. A 1-1 from Papelbon. Ball 2. Dave Roberts waiting on deck. Should Sweeney reach? The 2-1 from Papelbon. Giants down for their final strike.
Looked like a splitter from Papelbon. That's unusual with a 2-ball, 1-strike count. Have a lot of confidence in that splitter in that situation.
Barry Bonds 0 for 3. The 2-2 to Sweeney. Got a piece of it. Great job by our entire crew today here in Boston, led by producer Pete Macheska, director Bill Webb, associate director Wayne Wilson, broadcast associate Brian Biederman, our technical producer Sid Drexler, technical director Jonathan Evans, our statistician in the booth Marty Aronoff. Thanks to Dave Corris in the truck. Wayne Fiddleton, Dave Schwabe with us here at Fenway as well. The 2-2 and Sweeney with a ground ball. Pedroia blocks it, close to first. And the Red Sox take game 2 of this 3-game interleague series by the score of 1-0. No runs, 4 hits for the Giants. 1 run, only 5 hits for the Red Sox. Win number 8 for Daisuke Matsuzaka. First time in 44 years games at Fenway and Wrigley have ended 1-0 on the same day. And the Red Sox maintain their 8.5 game lead on the Yankees, who were also victorious today, 11-8 over the New York Mets. Manny Ramirez with a 4th inning home run. Our Chevrolet player of the game, 7 shutout innings. Daisuke Matsuzaka allowed only 3 hits, struck out 8. In recognition of his outstanding performance, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to Major League Baseball's youth outreach program, reviving baseball in inner cities. Chevy, an American revolution. For Tim McCarver and Ken Rosenthal, this is Kenny Albert saying so long from Fenway as we send you to the studio in Los Angeles.